Many people believe Cinco de Mayo, the 5th of May, commemorates Mexico's independence. It doesn't. The nation's Declaration of Independence was actually made on September 16th in 1810, and it marked the beginning of an 11-year struggle against Spanish colonial rule. Mexico, of course, would ultimately prevail, and that's why this week saw a national holiday in the country, the real celebration of Mexican independence, punctuated by the traditional Grito de Dolores, or call to arms that started the war, and celebrated with a military parade in the Mexican capital. Both events led for the first time by a woman, President Claudia Sheinbaum, who was elected last year and serves as the supreme commander of Mexico's armed forces. While rallying the Mexican people, she highlighted dignity, freedom, democracy, and justice. For the first time since last year, the U.S. Federal Reserve has cut interest rates by 1/4 percentage point. What that means and why it matters, or what's next on The World from A to Z, I'm Carl Azuz. The Federal Reserve is America's central bank. It was established in 1913 to help stabilize the nation's banking system. One important tool it has that can influence the U.S. economy is its key interest rate. By lowering that rate, as the Fed did Wednesday, it becomes less expensive for Americans to borrow money, as people and businesses don't have to pay back as much in interest. Basically, the idea is that the more they borrow, the more they spend, the more they stimulate the economy. And all this is significant right now because the U.S. economy has showed signs of slowing down. For one thing, though economists expected the country would add 80,000 jobs in the month of August, the Labor Department said 22,000 jobs were added, well below forecasts. The Fed says the unemployment rate, the percentage of workers who don't have a job, is still low at 4.3%, but it did tick up a bit last month over the month before. And inflation, the rise in prices of the goods we buy, that's also turned higher in recent months. So these are major reasons why the Fed reduced its key interest rate by that 1/4 point to try to balance out those economic challenges by making it a little cheaper to borrow money. Home loans, car loans, student loans taken out after the adjustment will carry a little less interest. That's potentially good news for many of you who are looking to borrow money for college, though there are some scams you need to be on guard against.
The cost of college continues to skyrocket, with some private universities costing students close to $100,000 a year when you combine tuition and other costs. As those costs rise, more students are turning to financial aid. Last fiscal year, the U.S. Department of Education administered about $120 billion worth of federal student aid, including loans and work-study funds. Nearly 10 million students receiving it. There are several different types of financial scholarships and grants you can apply for, and experts warn to stick with legitimate government websites. The site for the free application for federal student aid form, known as FAFSA, ends in a .gov.
Legitimate scholarships will never ask you for an upfront payment.
Melanie Roller is the head of retail bank fraud at Capital One. She says scammers are getting smarter and more advanced. They'll use urgent language like, "take action now."
Scammers know that this is a real dynamic, and that's why they are so persistent in trying to take advantage of students and their parents at this very vulnerable moment.
The Department of Education says you'll never be asked for a credit card number when filling out the FAFSA form online. If you are, that's a red flag.
It's very important to never share sensitive information that is in response to an unsolicited call, email, or text message.
If you do think you've been targeted in a scam, you can go to the Better Business Bureau's website. They have a tracking tool to report it and look up other complaints. I'm Jen Sullivan.
World of knowledge. Which U.S. founding father was the first to sign the Constitution? George Washington, James Madison, John Hancock, Alexander Hamilton. The man who presided over the Constitutional Convention itself was also the first to sign the document. His name was George Washington.
On this date in world history.
September 18, 1793 saw the first parade in the U.S. Capitol. But that wasn't the main thing that made the event historic. The fanfare was held in honor of President George Washington, who was there to lay the cornerstone of the Capitol building. It's believed the stone contains a silver plate with an inscription on it, but metal detectors haven't been able to find it, and the U.S. Senate says no one today knows exactly where the cornerstone is. On this date in 1870, an explorer named Nathaniel P. Langford wrote a description of a geyser in the western U.S. Because it sent boiling columns of water into the air every 15 to 20 minutes, Langford said observers had given it the name Old Faithful. And for a while after that, explorers reportedly stuck their dirty clothes into the geyser, waited for it to erupt, and then walked away with wet but clean garments. Hey!
Did you know, in 7,502 words, the U.S. Constitution sets up the entire national government, and that includes the amendments. To learn more, check out the government tree at periodicpresidents.com.
We're going to start in the first state of Delaware today and work our way west. First, from the town of Middletown, we've got Mr. Tiberi's class. St. George's Technical High School is in Delaware. We're also excited to have the Salukis watching. That's the mascot of Red Hill Junior Senior High School. Hello to Mrs. Cresswell's class in Bridgeport, Illinois. And from the city of Henderson in the Silver State of Nevada, we welcome the students and teachers of the Brown Academy of International Studies. Great to see y'all this Thursday. Now for some of your comments from our Facebook page and YouTube channel concerning Monday's report about political violence in America. Many of you echoed the feeling of Miss Ketty's class that no matter what disagreement is happening politically, violence should never be the answer. Mr. Whitehead's class hopes discussion and tolerance will solve our disagreements and says no one thinks Charlie Kirk should have been killed for what he was doing. And Mr. Foot's students say it's important for all of us to model what it means to peacefully disagree while still honoring each other. From Mr. Caldwell's class, political violence could be influenced by the idea that one political party is superior to the other. Social media have also led to people getting used to being more mean to people without any repercussions. From Miss Williams's class, politics seems to be more extreme now. We should be able to have different opinions and not be afraid of political violence. And Miss Kelly's students are concerned that speaking freely now is dangerous. They wondered what'll happen to freedom of speech if political violence isn't curbed. Finally, Dr. Gallman's class says politics are supposed to allow us to have the freedom to our own opinions and bridge political divides. Therefore, political violence negates that freedom.
Watch a 1,000-year-old Viking ship make a 115-yard journey over 10 hours, a move that's been in the making for over 10 years. Unearthed in 1904, the Oseberg was one of 3 Viking-era ships found in Norway, and according to the Museum of the Viking Age in Oslo, is the most well-preserved Viking ship in the world. But in 2012, museum officials discovered the ships were rapidly deteriorating due to humidity and subtle vibrations, and decided to move them to a brand new climate-controlled building. No easy feat, the move took 10 years of planning and the construction of a ceiling-mounted vibration-resistant crate to gingerly move the 71-foot vessel at a glacial pace. And they did, traveling at only 10 feet per hour. The hulking ship was slowly but surely moved into place in its first new home in nearly a century. Now the museum will turn its focus to relocating the remaining 2 even more delicate vessels.
An abandoned newsstand at a New York subway has gotten a makeover for a new retro vibe. And when we say retro, we mean prehistoric. This is part of a city project to turn unused spaces into art installations. The proprietor of the Dino store, and presumably its bouncer, is a 7-foot-tall PVC and papier-mâché T-Rex, and some of his offerings include Clawman Joy, Meteoritos, and Trilobites. One of the 2 artists who created this says the jokes just started writing themselves. Even if they were good and plenty candy options back in dino days, with Gushers, Jawbreakers, and Cream Eggs being the big sellers, we doubt the atomic fireballs were very popular. They probably didn't find much to Laffy Taffy about if there was some sort of starburst and whoppers of red-hot Tootsie Pop rocks started falling from the Milky Way like warheads, crunching their world to Reese's Pieces and turning them to mounds of whatchamacallit. All they'd want then is a lifesaver. I'm Azuz. That's the world from A to Z, and you mean the world to me.